All right, so we are back. I know it's been a little bit since I've been on the channel, but we're back because today I have to talk about a story I can't actually believe that I'm reading, but it is a bit interesting when we take a look at it. It's baffling. It's bordering on getting to the point of ridiculous, and I think we may have even just already gotten there. But Devin Haney just sued Ryan Garcia, and apparently I think Golden Boy Promotions is involved in this for battery, fraud, emotional and mental distress, and reputational damage. I'm not joking. This is real, so let's take a look. Devin Haney suing Ryan Garcia, the breakdown. Let's go. So we're going to get into the entire thing here in a second, but just off that, just off of the initial kind of tweet here from Michael Benson, I want to talk about what potentially is happening here and why Devin Haney has gone this route. First off, it's obviously based on the fact that Ryan popped for PEDs. That's the angle that's being taken here. Now, I'm still trying to figure out the amount of advantage that Ostarine gave Ryan Garcia from all intents and purposes. From everybody that's looked at this from, you know, a medical standpoint, from what the drug Ostarine does, from what exactly was the difference that night. Everybody outside of Victor Conte has essentially said that this could not have given Ryan a massive physical advantage in the fight and or an ability to punch harder, be in much of a different form physically outside of just him being able to miss weight, which I think he actually paid for. Ipso facto, the drug itself may not and probably did not affect the fight as much as is being alleged here in this lawsuit. Now, again, that's a bit of speculation just because we haven't had the full hard science on this, but Ostarine apparently is not a drug that you can take in the amount of time that Ryan would have been able to take it to change physiologically who he was as a person. Ideally, and what everybody seems to believe is what happened to Ryan with this drug is that he was taking Ostarine to help him cut weight that he eventually didn't make, but hold that for a second because Ryan apparently, I don't know if this ever got paid out, but apparently was supposed to pay Devin for missing weight. I don't know what the number was. I heard 1.5 million. I heard 500,000. I'm not exactly sure what the number was, but let's just say that was taken care of and that was squared away. So the big issue when Ryan missed weight, I was a massive detractor from Ryan then. I still think it was a fucked up move for him to miss weight, but the Haneys did okay the fight from that point. Now, they didn't okay Ryan being on Ostarine, and I understand. But again, they were okay with him missing weight. They made the weight. Now, granted, that has nothing to do with the actual fight itself and Devin getting repeatedly hit with a left hook. We'll get into that later, but the fact that Devin took left hook, not as great as you would want him to, I think. One was because, yeah, he got hit with clean left hooks, and Ryan has got a nasty left hook. One of, if not the best left hook in the game right now. And two, the fact that Devin Haney made 140, looks like he should not be fighting at 140 because I think it was Chris Algieri that said he made the weight and then looked like a ghost hours later for the official weigh-in, meaning he was not recovering in the way he should have, or his body was not coming back to him after draining himself so much to make the weight. Fair play to Devin, he made the weight. The point I'm getting at is this lawsuit, it very much looks as though they're going to go after Ryan for the PED usage, and they may actually have a case. I don't know how the court system works. They're doing it in the state of New York, but as far as, again, what I understand about Ostarine, the amount of damages and emotional and mental distress and battery, I don't know that Ryan's couple of weeks of Ostarine usage, because again, it was proven that he did not test positive throughout camp for this, and you could say, okay, well, he was microdosing, and maybe that's the case too. There's a lot of unknowns still here, but it didn't seem as though from every person that studies SARMs and PEDs that this would have been the right drug for Ryan to use to get a physical advantage. In fact, they were like, this is the opposite of the right drug, looking back at it. And this combined with the fact that Devin has, after this fight, started to turn himself into like a perpetual victim in almost every public instance. Like, it's not just with Ryan. You guys saw this last week with Eddie Hearn being like, wow, Eddie Hearn couldn't get me tickets to the Riyadh season, and I don't know whatever he said on Twitter, some promoter he is, or like, look at him not having my back, switching up on me. Like, that kind of stuff isn't doing Devin any favors in the public. And then there was this clip on Andre Ward's show, and I think you guys have seen it, maybe you haven't, but stuff like this is not doing Devin any favors in the public eye, which again is why this lawsuit it's starting to border on ridiculous how much Devin is excusing what happened that night to him based on the way he fought and the way Ryan did. But I'll show you what I mean.
He always showed power and speed before that. PD is going to enhance whatever you got. And I don't care what you say. If that's the case, why are they banned? Why do we test for him? If that's the case, we shouldn't even test for him.
But y'all had VADA testing.
Yeah.
Throughout the camp. Tell me if I'm wrong. He passed all his tests until the week of the fight.
Correct.
Right? So he tested positive for a test pre-fight and then post-fight.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, the test take 3 or 4 days to come back. But he had already, so he essentially had dirty urine going into the fight. You just didn't know it because the test hadn't come back.
Of course, yeah.
And then he tested again after, and that also came back. Was it 1 or 2 substances? Because I heard something about a second substance.
1.
Okay.
It was like a speculation for 2, but it came back that one was cool, and then it was 1.
So to me, that tells me, I ain't no scientist, but that tells me that he wasn't, it didn't seem like he was like cycling through training camp with this stuff. I think what happened, I heard he was real heavy the week of the fight. I heard something like 15 pounds. Don't know if it's true. And then he obviously didn't make the weight. Did Floyd tell him not to make the weight? You already spoke on it, my boy.
Doggy's putting Devin under the freaking spotlight here. So Devin has this theory coming to Andre Ward about, you know, well, Ryan's on PEDs and that's going to enhance whatever you're already good at. And he was already powerful and fast. And in theory, you know, Haney could be right here if the circumstance was what he was trying to make it. Again, you can't defend Ryan for having PEDs in his system. You can't. It just, there's nothing to defend it outside of, okay, yes, it looks as though it was an accident, right? It looks as though he was taking a fat burner or something to lose weight during fight week, because he did. He looked like he was completely overweight. And the rumor was, and Devin even said this, that he had heard Floyd had told him not to make the weight, to keep himself fresh and just pay whatever fine he was going to have to pay. All these things lining up do make a lot more sense than the points Devin's trying to make when you factor in that VADA testing was done throughout camp and Ryan did not miss. You factor in that Ryan was heavy during fight week and was going to have to get to a certain number to even have the fight happen, even if he couldn't make 140. Ryan wasn't the most disciplined in his weight cut, while Devin was. Again, I'm not crediting Ryan with this. I'm not like, yeah, great job. It's still, in my opinion, missing weight on purpose is still cheating. But Devin, after that, accepts the fight with Ryan, even knowing that Ryan purposely missed weight. So again, those things you can't come back and say, hey, you know, he cheated, well, I want that back. They gave you the no contest. He's not going to be fighting for a year, all because of this stuff. But when we go into assault, battery, fraud, emotional and mental distress, all these things, again, based off his Ostarine usage, or again, whatever the product was that had Ostarine in it, these things, maybe they'll get settled in court, but these things start to border on like grasping at straws when Andre Ward is saying it. Not that Andre Ward's a doctor, but there are people that understand this drug. Like, again, it's a YouTuber, but more plates, more dates. Derek has kind of gone through and shown what Ostarine is most useful for and how long you would need to take it for it to be useful. All these things, again, adding up like a mistake. A bad one from Ryan, like a terrible one, and the people in his camp that didn't oversee whatever it was that was going into his body. But again, not one done with malicious intent, or one that was, again, at least right now, allegedly, in any way helpful to his physical body outside of him just not making weight, which was a decision that Devin was okay with because he still fought him after he did it. And now he sticks it on Devin about this whole, like, hey, I think that Ryan used it to cut weight, and you knew Floyd told him not to make weight. Like, it's just all getting thrown back on him, and it doesn't hold up under the microscope.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
So he don't make weight.
Floyd said he didn't.
He did not?
Floyd said he didn't.
He did not?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what he said. That's his word.
I mean, I seen him throw.
I seen it too.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna leave it. I feel like he came in heavy and somebody said, hey man, take this to get the weight off. But the fact still remains he had something in the system and you don't know how that affected him. You don't know how that energized him. You don't know how that gave him more energy, more
I mean, cutting weight. When you're in training camp, 9 times out of 10, I don't know about you because your body a little different, but when you're a little bit heavier, it's like a certain weight that you be, where you be a little bit heavier and you be kind of stronger, you be a little bit more sharper.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then you cut the weight,
get weak,
and you get a little weaker. You still be sharp, but you're not as sharp as that what you was when you was a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
So maybe you take something to where you keep that strength. You don't gotta drain yourself or strain yourself so much when you're losing weight. But I don't know. I'm not an expert though.
And that's not a bad point from Devin Haney. Maybe Ostarine works in a way that, again, who knows the amount of Ostarine that was in his system, and maybe it allows him to cut weight without losing muscle or something. Maybe that's the case. And if that's the case, then okay, yeah, you got something here, right? Like, okay, there's a benefit to him using this to be able to cut the weight and stay full somehow, right? But cutting weight, and again, to me, if you cut weight, you're cutting weight, right? Like it's gonna hurt you anyway. Again, I attribute Ryan's, speed and power to the point of where he was versus where Devin was, to the fact that he just didn't make weight. The fact that he just walked in and didn't cut the extra 3 pounds. And you could say, well, it was only 3 pounds. Those 3 pounds are huge when it comes to, like Devin's talking about, the amount of work on your body, the amount of time you need to be able to cut that weight, the amount of recovery you're going to need to get back to what you normally walk in there at. I think Devin actually came into the fight heavier than Ryan was. But the fact that he had to work all the way down to 140 and Ryan stopped at 143, I attribute that more to Devin feeling more drained, more sluggish, all that, because he actually made the weight and Ryan just purposely didn't. Again, that's not fair to me at all. Again, I always consider missing weight on purpose to be flat out cheating. But the problem is Devin decided to go ahead with the fight. Said, okay, cool, whatever. You missed it. Let's do it. Here's the fine. Cool. So now looking back on it, again, it's like, that he didn't agree to fighting Ryan with the Ostarine in his system and everything like that. It just doesn't look like a guy that's able to accept what happened to him. And with all the stuff that we at least right now know, the Ostarine benefit, it looks to be negligible. The decisions made leading up to and during the fight from Devin, his dad, and their camp, and from Ryan, his dad, and their camp, seemed to be the real issue that they're having. The fact that Ryan was purposely missing weight. The fact that Devin was getting rocked by punches in that fight and had no adjustments and wasn't able to avoid the left hook. Also, the fact that Devin fought pretty well outside of the times where he was touched with the left hand. He won a lot of rounds. This was not a complete domination in the middle of the fight from Ryan Garcia. It was in moments, like the first round and later on in the fight, but Devin had his opportunity. Even caught Ryan with a left hook of his own. Again, these are the decisions you're talking about that I think are weighing on Devin and Bill and all those guys more than it is necessarily the Ostarine. It's just the Ostarine is the one thing that I think they can point to and push a lot of this blame onto. And I'm not saying that they're even wrong for doing that mentally, but it feels more like Devin just can't accept the fact that Ryan was better than him to that degree on that night, and he had no answer for it.
If he could do it all over again, he wouldn't have took the fight if he wouldn't have made the weight.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that? You would have just said, fight off. Either make the weight or we not fight.
Yeah.
You would have did that for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what I'm saying. This to me feels like what the real issue is. It's not the Ostarine, and I've said this, now I think Devin realizes it. The weight that Ryan didn't make, I feel, was the major factor as to why he was a little bit more fresh than Devin was. He was a little bit more, quick and sharp than Devin was. And again, you can blame Ryan for that. I will sit here and say it was wrong. Ryan should have made the weight. Championship fight, that's what's supposed to happen. But again, the Haney's allowed him to do it. You can't really complain if you say, yes, let's do the fight anyway. Now, looking back on it, again, it comes off like a lot of excuse making and a lot of not being able to accept what happened.
People can say, oh, he don't have a chin. No, when you get hit and you get up, that's what's showing you have a chin. Being able to get hit and get right back to it.
Did you ever recover from that getting hurt the first time? In the very first round?
I feel like I recovered because I wasn't that hurt. It was more like a surprise.
Like shock you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I feel like I recovered.
So again, you see that, like he's very prideful about the fact that he did not, one, get hurt, and two, that he has a chin, right? And by the way, Devin should be prideful in the fact that he was able to keep getting back up after he got knocked down. That's something that he should hold pride in his heart for, because that takes some balls. He's right. That makes him a dog in there. Can't take anything away from Devin in his toughness, because he was tough that night. Many of people have taken that left hook from Ryan Garcia and not gotten back up. He did multiple times. So fair play to him for that. But again, it's up here. There's not that willingness to admit, not even the I was hurt or I wasn't, whatever. But again, his chin can be touched. He is vulnerable in there. And again, Ryan probably is, between them, the harder puncher, the faster puncher, the more powerful guy. At whatever weight they want to do it, Ryan is going to have those innate abilities over Devin, who is in that fight, if we remember, is punching Ryan. Remember Ryan was doing that weird Philly shell and he was turning his back to him, and Devin's hitting him right in the kidneys, and it's just not affecting Ryan at all. And again, You could say it's because he's super juiced on Ostarine, and maybe, but I just thought about that Ryan Reynolds movie where he's like the main character in a video game. There's that super jacked version of him. But I think that's more the fact that Devin's never been a heavy puncher like that. Even at 40, yes, he knocked down Regis Prograis, couldn't finish him. But again, you're just seeing a lack of willingness to let anything come into his mind that would force him to say, I needed to be better that night. There's Devin talking about it. Let's get into the actual lawsuit really quickly before we get out of here. So here it is. Devin Haney sues Ryan Garcia for battery, fraud, and more. Devin Haney on Friday filed a lawsuit against Ryan Garcia alleging battery, fraud, and unjust enrichment, while also naming Garcia's promoter Golden Boy Promotions in the lawsuit, demanding a full review and adjustment of accounting for their controversial bout that now stands as a no contest. Okay, so full review and adjustment for accounting. So money, essentially. Here is Devin's lawyer, Pat English, on a 16-page filing that Haney is seeking punitive damages for the transgressions committed by Garcia. Quote, Devin is a consummate professional and Ryan Garcia has shown no respect for himself, the business, or the sport. Haney's father/trainer, Bill Haney, told the Boxing Scene minutes after the lawsuit was filed, Devin is the face of boxing. Leave it to Bill, man, to try to put Devin back at that place. So he's the face of boxing. It's okay. Devin's the face of boxing because he's challenged the franchise in many ways by working with multiple promoters, by crossing the sides of the street, talking about broadcasters, and now he's challenging PED use. This is all for the good of the sport. As he did petitioning New York Commission to suspend Ryan Garcia and vacate his victory, Attorney English noted in Friday's lawsuit that Garcia had signed documents vowing he had not used performance-enhancing drugs. Right. Again, this would paint a picture that Ryan is knowingly using PEDs, when in fact we don't know that, right? So this lawsuit is painting the picture that Ryan is signing these documents vowing he didn't use performance-enhancing drugs while knowingly using performance-enhancing drugs. Again, the leading theory right now is contaminated supplement, although I don't know that they have provided the contaminated supplement that Ryan used. That hasn't been made public by New York or whoever retested these samples, but they're going to have to prove that Ryan knowingly used it if they're going to accuse him of falsely signing documents that he did not use performance-enhancing drugs or lying on those documents. In the bout, Haney was immediately rocked and dazed by Garcia's left hooks, plural, and hit the canvas in the 7th, 10th, and 11th rounds before Garcia's hand was raised in a victory by majority decision. 112-112. Good Lord. Boxing judging is fucked. Haney's lawsuit repeats how Garcia was behaving erratically through the lead up to the fight, talking incessantly on social media about conspiracy theories, acting strangely at their Hollywood news conference, and finally missing weight by 3.5 pounds, swigging a beer bottle from while standing on the ceremonial scale. It does sound crazy when you read it back, and that was one of the wildest buildups to a fight I think we've seen in a while in boxing. It reminded you of the 90s, man. Maybe not with everything that was being done, but yeah, Ryan was a psycho leading up to their fight. There's no doubt about it. Like the stuff he was talking about, we covered it. It looked like the guy was off his rocker. Turns out Ryan is absolutely off his rocker because he kind of still acts the same way. He's toned it down a little bit as of recently, but Ryan's a conspiracy nut. He is. It's not even, yeah, of course he is. He loves attention. He does it because it gets him attention. And while he thinks he's like a mastermind of doing things like, yeah, I'm working the whole public. No, he's actually a psychopath. But these things aren't indicative of him doing anything wrong, right? Like the talking incessantly on social media or the erratic interviews and press conferences Ryan was in. It was entertaining. He did look like a psycho, but it didn't mean that he was doing anything wrong. And also, the swigging from a beer bottle was ceremonial as much as the weigh-in was ceremonial, because I'm pretty sure Ryan said it was apple juice that was in the bottle. In addition to the 3 positive Ostarine results backed up by positive tests on the B samples, did Ryan have 3 misses? Because I know he had one from post-fight and one from pre-fight. Was there one the day before the fight that he missed too? I'm not sure. I thought he had 2 misses, and then maybe the B sample was the 3rd miss. Is that what they're trying to say? Or I'm not sure. Maybe there was 3 misses. I don't remember. The Haney camp attached a YouTube video of Garcia taking an IV of fluid with a yellowish tinge before the bout. Okay, so they are maybe not alleging, but trying to provide reasoning for Ryan's miss by him taking an IV full of yellowish tinge before the fight. Now, again, I can't speculate on what Ryan took in an IV. I didn't even know if that was legal to take IVs before fights in New York. I don't know how it works, but I can tell you that IVs with a yellowish tinge, depending on what it is that you're getting, can be an assortment of vitamins, as well as anything else. I'm not sure. I don't know that you take Ostarine in IV form. I'm not even sure how that would work. But most of the time, you're taking IVs because you're either dehydrated or because you're cutting weight and need to put weight back on. Again, I don't know if that's legal in New York, and I don't know if Ryan was supposed to be taking an IV, but they're alleging that potentially the Ostarine was injected IV. I'm laughing because some of this stuff is such a reach. These things aren't in any way related, but put together, they make this seem like Ryan was the evil villain the whole time. And again, maybe, but I don't think that was the way this was. Quote, at no time did Devin Haney consent to engage in a bout against a boxer who was positive for a performance-enhancing drug, performance-enhancing procedure, or masking agent, and would not have proceeded with the bout had he known. This is fair, by the way. This part of the lawsuit is fair. I guess the unfortunate part is with testing being the way it is, if Ryan's clean throughout the camp using the same W.A.D.E test that they all agreed to, there is really no way to have stopped this bout other than maybe they could get the test back quicker because they tested him the day before, they tested him the fight day and directly after the fight. If there's any way to get tests back quicker, then that would be the way that obviously you would know. Other than that, it's kind of one of these weird things where you find out a couple days after the fight, so the damage is already done. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way of doing the testing to get it back like ASAP. And if they did rematch or whatever, then you'd have to do that. Quote, the New York State Athletic Commission would not have permitted had it known of the positive finding or of Ryan's IV use. Again, this is interesting. Did Ryan illegally use an IV? And how would the New York State Athletic Commission not know that if it was on YouTube before the fight? Yeah. Maybe the YouTube video came out after the fight. But if this was on YouTube and publicly known and the State Athletic Commission still did nothing about it, then New York, that's on them. How do you not know? Because the IV use is a big deal, right? If that's illegal and you're doing it, that's another way of, again, cheating the weight cut, which I think is flat out against the rules. But then again, if you're Devin Haney and you knew that he was going to miss the weight, now, I don't know that they knew he was going to use the IV, but those things I would be like, no, I'm not fighting the guy. He's blatantly cheating, but they still chose to do it. Quote, adding insult to the commission and the sport of boxing, Mr. Garcia has alleged that he was, quote, high as fuck during his bout with Mr. Haney. This very clearly brings the disrepute on the sport of boxing by derivation of the New York State Athletic Commission. So again, I don't know if you can be high while you're fighting. If that's a crime, then the Diaz brothers need to be locked away in jail for years. But again, they're painting the picture that Ryan has no regard for the rules. That is the entirety of this lawsuit. He has no regard for the rules. Check his weed usage, his IV usage, his beer bottle, his conspiratorial tweets, and his erratic behavior, right? That's the picture being painted. Again, I don't know if that's enough to hold up based on the things that actually happened and what we actually know right now, but maybe this is cause for discovery in this lawsuit. After Garcia named one individual for supplying him with Ostarine, I don't know who did that, who was the person he named. Haney's legal team wants to hold any such person responsible. Quote, the actions of Ryan Garcia and those who assisted him evince a high degree of moral, oh man, these words are way too big for me, turpitude, and demonstrate wanton dishonesty as to imply criminal indifference to his civil obligations, as well as willful or wanton negligence or recklessness, or where there is a conscious disregard for the rights of others or conduct so reckless as to amount to such disregard. That sentence was off. In the battery count, Haney, quote, at no time agreed to engage in a bout of an individual who had taken a performance-enhancing drug. His consent was limited to a bout held fairly and under the rules and prohibitions set forth above. Thus, the fighting, touching by Garcia is non-consensual. I did not consent to be touched with your Ostarine left hook, Garcia. Again, this is serious stuff. It's just the way this is worded. It invites a little bit of the jokes, man. Anyway, Devin Haney suffered damages that suffered physical injury, reputational damage, which will allow millions of dollars emotional and mental distress. Haney ultimately withdrew from defending his belt against WBC mandatory foe Sandor Martin, relinquishing his belt. Okay, so again, they're saying, well, Devin also lost his belt because he fought Ryan. Not a bad point, so now he's no longer that champion. The fraud count is connected to Ryan's signed claims that he would fight drug-free and that he would make weight for the title fight. Again, that one right there, I don't know how much they actually have a leg to stand on. We don't know that Ryan was knowingly taking Ostarine. In fact, again, he was clean throughout camp. We assume that he took something to try to make weight. The IV thing is interesting, and I don't know what that was about. But again, the making weight part of this, they agreed to a different number after Ryan missed weight. On purpose, fair play, he missed. But Devin and them had the opportunity to say no there, and they didn't. I don't know if you can sue him after you agreed to fight him after he missed weight. So I don't know. As far as the unjust enrichment count, Haney's legal team says Garcia does not deserve to keep his purse and pay-per-view cut. Quote, by virtue of his actions, Ryan Garcia was enriched at the expense of Devin Haney to the tune of millions of dollars. Specifically, Ryan Garcia advanced his reputation at the expense of Devin Haney. Here's the thing. I think Ryan has, yes, gone up in his reputation after the fight. Yes, by his performance. And yes, because a little bit of what Devin Haney has done, like this lawsuit, like every time Devin Haney provides another excuse or, tries to somehow diminish what happened on the basis of Osterine, which again, okay, fair point, sure, but it doesn't have the full effect. And Devin Haney acting like it is the only reason he lost is the reason Ryan continues to build his reputation, because to the public, it looks like excuse making, whining, and not being able to accept a loss, which again, it's not a loss now, but on the night, it was clear who was the better fighter. And some of that is because of Ryan's affiliation with like the Trump campaign and how he's like now a super Trumper and obviously his religious talks and all that stuff. But at the same time, Ryan has also done some pretty damaging things to his own reputation by having this fight and his performance and the things he said on social media. So I don't know that Ryan building his reputation is going to result in a loss for future earnings for Devin Haney. In fact, I think a rematch between the two would be massive earnings for Devin Haney. I think that would be something a lot of people would pay for, but I guess I get where they're going. As for Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, Haney claims he's been deprived of funds demanded by the June 20th New York Commission consent order. Quote, under the terms of that consent order, Ryan Garcia must return the guaranteed non-pay-per-view earnings purse he has been paid to his promoter, Golden Boy. Devin Haney and Devin Haney Inc. are contractually entitled to 47% of all profits for the bout, and thus is entitled to 47% of the funds required to be returned. Ooh, interesting. Golden Boy has asserted that it will not share the extra profits from the bout as resulted by the forfeiture ordered by the New York State Athletic Commission. This constitutes a breach of contract by Golden Boy and or unjust enrichment to Golden Boy. So here's a very interesting part of this. The fact that Ryan had to return his purse, Golden Boy gets to hold that. Devin is saying they're not entitled to hold it because I am entitled to 47% of all the profits. And if Ryan isn't getting it, that means I'm entitled to 47% of that. I don't know if he has a leg to stand on there, but that's an interesting thing to do. It does feel a bit like Devin trying to find anything he can grab out of this, and whether that means he can't necessarily punish Ryan in any way and just wants to grab a little bit of extra money, okay, fair play. I don't know, again, how legally that is going to work, but it's an interesting play. Last thing here, Bill Haney said Friday that his son will accept a rematch against Ryan Garcia as long as the purse money is acceptable and that Ryan is held to the most stringent of drug testing screening. Okay, so there you go. That seems like everything that's a part of this lawsuit. And at the end of it, the one thing that would build Devin Haney's reputation back, that would get him all the things he's looking for in the lawsuit, honestly, is the last thing we see there. For him to go out, rematch Ryan Garcia, and beat him. It's that simple, and I think that would be the best course of action here, right? If you didn't feel like Ryan was better than you, if you felt like the only reason that he beat you was because he was on Osterine and he was juiced to the gills and he didn't have any technical ability over you, he was just bigger, stronger, powerful, all because he missed weight on purpose, even though you agreed to the fight. He was on Osterine specifically that made him bigger and stronger. We don't actually know that that's the case, but if you believe all that, go and rematch him and prove. I believe that Devin Haney was beaten by a better fighter on that night. Was Ryan better just because he missed weight? No. That may have been a part of it, and I think it was a big part of it that Devin made and Ryan missed, but they agreed to having the fight after that. Terrible move by Team Haney. But as far as the X's and O's, the actual boxing match, we should have seen this coming. As crazy as it sounds, we have already seen this between these two fighters in multiple other fights. They're out there on YouTube. But not only that, we've seen it in sparring matches. One that I actually didn't see until it came out recently. Well, I think it came out a while ago, but there's a sparring video between Devin and Ryan where we see a lot of the same things that happened to Devin play out in this sparring match. The only thing that was a surprise was that Devin was telling us how much better he had gotten and how much better Ryan hadn't. But when you look back, Devin fought the same way against Ryan in the fight that he had sparred him all those years ago, which made you question, was this just an off night for Devin Haney, or is Devin Haney maybe not gotten as good as he told? So this is from Fight Hype. I'm gonna have to turn the music off, but this is them sparring. I don't know exactly when it was. Obviously it was a bit ago, but a lot of these sequences, even to start out, right? Ryan with the left hook, right hand. Again, Devin gets caught with another left hook. I'll slow it down so you guys can see it. I know Ryan's hands are fast as hell. And again, there's no Osterine involved with any of what we're seeing right now, at least not that we know. But I'm going to put it in half speed. There's another left hook that lands through. Right hand, caught on the guard a little bit. There's another left hook that lands from Ryan Garcia. Devin Haney trying to catch this with his glove. He may think it's a shot to the body. Not exactly sure, but he just eats the glove there. And again, another left hook. And this one actually hurt Devin a little bit, had him kind of wobbling a bit. There's a right hand to the body. Now, again, these are just Ryan Garcia highlights, but I don't know that there is many highlights from Devin Haney in this sparring session. There's a right hand upstairs. I mean, it's the same pattern over and over. Left hook to the body. Left hook upstairs. Right hand. I mean, we should have seen this coming. It's the same thing over and over and over. Just like it was the same thing over and over and over on fight night. No adjustments were made. Not just in the fight, but from this point, and I guess points in their amateur career, until the fight. I don't understand why Devin and Bill were so confident. They clearly had no answer for the left hook, which is, again, why I look at this entire lawsuit and just the way that Devin has handled this loss, which, by the way, isn't even a loss on his actual record. It's a no contest. But again, in his mind, he knew he lost that match. The way they are handling it doesn't show me that if they did rematch it, that Devin's going to beat him. Because, again, there's just no adjustments. There's no internal look. And this is why I say we're bordering on this being just ridiculous. Because, okay, sure, the Ostarine is a big deal. I don't know. Again, the IV is something I didn't know. But the mistakes were made in the ring, and not just on the night, but for years before. This style, Ryan's ability, his speed and his power, are something Devin has never been comfortable handling and has always been eat up by. Because I'll just keep playing this. Boom, right hand to the body. Like, it doesn't stop. And I'm going in half speed just so you guys can see this. Right hand to the body. Do you see my point? I don't want to say that this lawsuit is frivolous because I'm not a legal expert and I have no idea. Could Devin be right in some or all of these claims? Maybe. But the one thing he is so dead wrong about, and why I say this guy is not doing himself any favors with his own reputation by doing this whole legalese, you've assaulted me and battered me, which, I mean, you look at the fight, you kind of have to agree that you've caused emotional and mental distress. That's coming from inside and being projected to me. The fact that Devin cannot accept what Ryan did to him, I think, is the biggest demon in all of this. Was Ryan at fault for a lot of things? Sure. Missing weight, unacceptable unless you accept the fight with him. Ostarine can't happen. That's why he's suspended for a year. Have to give his purse back. Not saying that, again, any of it's right, because it wasn't. Devin Haney has got to, at some point, realize that the reason he lost that fight, yes, because of some ill-advised decisions to allow that fight to go on. He knowingly missed weight, and they still allowed him to fight. But also because he had a failure to adjust to very simple things that he had seen for years and years and years. That's the biggest issue. You don't adjust this time, and they do go forward with the rematch, it's only going to do more damage to Devin Haney in the form of battery and emotional distress. And that's not one he's going to be able to sue for. So like I said, this is getting to be a little ridiculous, but that's just my opinion. Devin deserves to be entitled to whatever he can get based on the fact that Ryan cheated. I don't disagree with that. But mentally, he's going to have to accept what happened. Otherwise, he's never going to be able to get over it and move on. And it's always going to haunt. That's what I think. You guys let me know what we're thinking about this entire thing. I tend to think we're getting to the point now where Devin Haney has got to be able to move on. If that means in a rematch, great. Show us why Ryan couldn't beat you without all this stuff, right? Show us why the weight cut matters so much. Show us why the Ostarine matters so much. Show us. Otherwise, it doesn't seem like you even believe that. But that's my thoughts. You guys have them, let me know down below, because I don't know what happens next, but we are living in a very wild time in the boxing age right now with everything going on in Saudi and Riyadh season. Chris Eubanks going off on Frank Warren and Eddie and everybody else. And that card better be at Viejo being crazy October 12th. We're going to get back to it. I know it's been a bit, but here we are. You guys stay tuned, and what happens next in the world of boxing, don't have those answers, but guess we'll find out.